If you're somebody that lifts weights, it can get incredibly confusing and conflicting with everyone's different opinions with the best rep range, the best training split, the best program you can follow. And it can all just feel like this is going to take me far too much work. I'm going to have to dedicate my life to lifting weights. And I am here to tell you that that is not the case, because building muscle can be done in as little as 45 minutes, just 3 times per week. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to do that. So you can go in the gym and be confident that your training program is going to lead to actual results. And if you've not met me before, hi, my name is Laura, and I have been helping women build lean, muscular bodies every day of my life for the last 15 years. And on this channel, I like to dispel the myths, cut through the nonsense, and give you actual practical strategies founded in science that you can use to make getting a lean, fit, healthy body way easier. So if that sounds like something you need, you want to hit that little subscribe button. I want to be really clear, first of all, that this is not going to be another workout plan for you to follow. This is not going to be some gimmick. It's not going to be some fad. It's simply these science-backed steps that you will need to pull together a proper program that is going to be effective in your 3 sessions per week. Because I get it, you're busy and you just might not want to spend hours in the gym, but you still want to get strong. So let's get straight into it. Step number 1, if you are only training 3 times per week and you want the fastest route to build muscle, you're going to need to lift some weights, in case that's not already clear. But preferably you're going to lift those weights in the gym. Now, I've had clients achieve amazing transformations training at home, but I don't want to mislead anyone. They're not doing that in their living room with 4-kilo dumbbells and a bit of Pilates. They have decent setups at home. Some people will be looking at this thinking, well, hang on a minute, Laura, my favorite influencer that I see online, she looks amazing and she does Pilates in a living room and she does HIIT workouts in a living room. And I think it's so important that we touch on the workout program that she's following now might not be the thing that has built that base of muscle that she's got. The other thing to bear in mind with a lot of fitness professionals that train at home is they have a very good understanding of their bodies, their muscles, how to take them through full range of motion, and how everything is interconnected. Because if you are going to train at home with minimal weight and actually apply progressive overload, you really need to have a good understanding of applying mechanical tension and force through using your own body weight. And for most people, I don't mean this rudely, but I did teach Pilates, I taught fitness yoga, I taught HIIT, I've teaching body pump, I've taught everything. And the average person that goes into the gym, they don't have that level of understanding of their body. Now, if you're a beginner, yes, you will see decent results lifting at home. So if you've never set foot in the gym, I don't want you to be discouraged, but I want everyone watching this to know there will be a point where the weight you're lifting at home will no longer be enough to provide an appropriate stimulus. And getting in the gym is the fastest way to do that. We've got more weights, we've got different machines, we can hit things from different angles. So step 2, have an actual training plan, which I know sounds obvious, but so many women want to build muscle and then they're going in the gym and they're not actually following anything with structure. And it is a bit like if you're going to do a journey to somewhere that you've not been before, right? You're not just going to start driving aimlessly around the block in the hope that you turn up at the place you want to be on time. No, if you know you have to be somewhere at a certain time, you're probably going to plan that route first, right? So the fastest way to build muscle is to have a plan. And the fewer times you're training per week, actually the more important that programming becomes. If you're training 3 times per week, I would recommend one of the following training splits, either full body, push-pull legs, or you can do upper lower. If your focus areas are more in your upper body, you're more concerned about building upper body tone, muscle and strength, you're going to hit upper twice, lower once. If you're more concerned about building mass in the lower body, you flip that. The split here doesn't matter so much as the type of exercises that you are choosing. So if we are doing fewer sessions per week, we need to make sure that the exercises that we're picking give us the most bang for our buck. And compound movements are going to be your best friend here. So by a compound movement, I mean something that goes across multiple joints, multiple muscle groups. So things like your squats, your deadlifts, your bench press, we're working multiple parts of the body at once. And the research shows us that these types of exercises are more effective, but actually if you think about it, it's just common sense, right? If you're using more muscle groups at once, you're going to be able to do fewer fewer exercises and target more muscles than if you just pick single joint or what we call isolation exercises alone. So for example, things like glute kickbacks and leg extensions, they can be brilliant, but we don't just want to build a program that only does one muscle group at a time if we're trying to get the most bang for our buck from fewer sessions. So when I'm programming a client, I program the bulk of it around the compound movements, and then usually with the isolated movements, I will prioritize either weak parts, things that need correction posturally, or just the body parts that they want to improve. Step 3, when it comes to your training sessions, I really need you to understand quality over quantity. So what we want is not the most number of exercises that you can squeeze into a session possible, but actually the highest rep quality that pushes that muscle close to failure, but that you can still recover from enough to be able to go and do that again, a little bit more of that in your next session. We want to try and find that sweet spot between giving the muscle enough stimulus to grow without having to sack off the rest of the week because your legs are too sore so you can't make that next session. So sometimes doing fewer exercises but doing them better is way better than shoving 10 exercises in your one gym session and doing them all a bit half-assed. This isn't just me saying it, this is backed up in research too. A 2020 meta-analysis showed us that just one hard set of 6 to 12 reps done 2 to 3 times per week can significantly increase 1 rep max strength in trained individuals, provided they're pushing close to failure. So yeah, I'm not saying go super low on the volume because doing more sets in general can help provide better growth, but there is a ceiling to that. And I have seen so many clients, including experienced PTs, who have actually seen their muscle growth take off again after a plateau by stripping back their number of training sessions per week. And by doing that, they just performed better in each one. So yeah, for your 3 sessions per week, it's all about that quality. Okay, step 4, you need to get your loads that you're choosing right. And this is going to be really individual, right? Like, I can't tell you a certain amount that you should be lifting, but the one thing I can tell you is actually the rep range doesn't matter too much. And if you've heard these old myths like 4 to 6 reps improve strength, 8 to 10 reps is hypertrophy, or 12 to 15 reps is toning, that information is old and it's still being spouted out by people that don't understand science. Because one thing that we do know is that actually the rep range of an exercise, it doesn't really matter. The thing that determines muscle growth is that ability to push to failure. So it actually doesn't matter if you're picking up lightweight or you're picking up heavyweight, but obviously if you're using lightweights, you're going to have to do a lot more repetitions in order to be able to push to failure. So it's more time effective to handle a heavier load where our muscles fatigue quicker. I say as a general guide for most people that want to build muscle, aiming to fail somewhere between the 6 to 12 rep range is pretty good. And a really simple guide if you want to apply progressive overload is to start by picking a weight where you fell round about the 8 rep range. You're going to push every week for that extra rep until you can work that weight up to about 12 reps. When that gets easy and you feel like you can go beyond those 12 reps, that's when you're going to handle the next load up. And even if that rep range has to drop significantly, you're going to persevere, right, with that same weight, as long as you're pushing close to failure. So, you know, by the end of the set, that weight should be moving slower. Your last rep shouldn't look like the first rep. So if in doubt, keep going. Not the point where your brain tells you to stop, but where your muscles actually felt. And with weight training, that is a skill in itself. That ability to push yourself through that little bit where it starts burning, it hurts a bit, your brain starts kicking in and saying, oh my God, we're never gonna make this rep. If you can push through that, that will take you to muscular failures. But the thing to remember is it's not just about lifting heavy, it is about lifting well. I've said this in so many videos, but I have had clients send me their training, even experienced trainers, and be humbled by learning how to actually get that mind-muscle connection, move the weight properly, and realize, okay, right, we need to drop this weight back down. Progressive overload doesn't always mean just keep sticking the weight up. It can also be from just handling that weight a bit better. As long as you're sure that you've only got 1 or 2 left in the tank, that's a perfect intensity for your sessions. Step 5, if you're short on time, you're going to weave your warm-ups into your workout. And if you're not warming up at all and you are close to 40 like me, you probably should be warming up, because we need to get those joints and muscles ready for a bit of movement in order to be able to hand heavier loads. But you don't need to waste time doing the odd 5 minutes on the cross trainer to get your heart rate up, or any specific stretching protocol. The best best way to prepare your body for exercise is to actually practice the movement patterns that you're about to do. So in other words, just doing a lighter set of the load that you're about to lift. However, if you do like a bit of a stretch, if like me, you train first thing in the morning, when you get out of bed, you're just a bit stiff. You want to make sure you're doing the right kind of stuff. And if you are doing just static stretches, so stretches where you hold them still, you're actually going to be making your performance in your weightlifting session worse, because research shows us that static stretching, so holding a muscle through a stretch, can actually decrease power output from anything from 2 to 22%. So if you are going to do a bit of stretching beforehand, you want to do some dynamic stretching, or as I like to call it, mobility work. So it's basically moving and taking the muscle through a full range of motion. And it really doesn't need to be anything fancy. Like I said, if you know your mobility needs work, just simply putting 1 or 2 body weight exercises where you really focus on making that muscle as long as you can possibly make it and controlling that movement as much as you can. Or if your mobility is pretty good and you know you don't need to work on that, simply focus on a few lighter sets of the exercise that you're about to do. So, if you were about to bench press, you could grab some dumbbells or just do a few sets with just the bar to get yourself ready for that. And that's going to be the best way to warm up without wasting time chucking on loads of extra bits. Step 6, and this one isn't something that you're going to do in the gym, but it is going to help you build muscle in the fastest way, and that is eat your protein. It is pointless putting your muscle through all of that in the gym if you are then not going to feed them properly. Think of it like your muscles are builders, the gym is the materials that they're using, and the protein's the money that you're paying them to get that job done. If you stop paying those builders, they're not going to do a very good job, and in fact, at some point, they might just stop turning up for work altogether. You don't necessarily need to worry about tracking obsessively here, but just get into the habit of eating a solid lean protein source with most of your meals. And if you eat somewhere between 100 to 200 grams of it in that food's physical weight per meal, you're probably going to be getting enough protein, assuming you eat 3 or 4 meals a day. Step 7, rest. Because in order for those builders to keep doing a good job, we need to give them some time off as well. And this is where a 3-day training split is actually pretty handy, because you're going to have 4 rest days per week. And if you can actually get in the habit of, rather than doing your 3 sessions back to back, just spacing those out so there's at least a day between each one, then that is going to help you to perform a bit better and lift a bit heavier. But if your schedule dictates that you actually have to do your training back to back, you might actually find a split like push-pull legs rather than full body a bit better, because it means that, if you're doing push one day, you can go in the next day and do pull, and we're still working different muscle groups. Also, I really need you to focus on your sleep. And I say this all the time, but every woman in great shape very often is quite precious of her sleep. And even though I can't whip out some fancy studies for you here, because making people sleep deprived and then slapping them in the gym, it's not particularly ethical. So we don't have many studies where they've done that. But let's think about it in common sense, right? Everything in life feels harder after you've slept badly. So it makes sense that going in the gym and picking up pieces of heavy metal and moving them around is going to be a lot harder after a crap night's sleep. Also, a lot of the muscle growth happens whilst we are sleeping. So if you want a hack to building muscle as quickly as possible, pay as much attention to your sleep as you do your nutrition and your training. And actually, if you can have a little bit of protein before you go to bed, before you don't eat for 8 hours, that is going to help those muscles to repair and rebuild nicely too. Step number 8, this is the one that I find the hardest.
Just have a little patience.
Every fit muscular woman you see did not get there in weeks. She got there in years. And even the people that it looks like they've got really shredded in 8-12 weeks, the process of building muscle that enabled them to do a faster fat loss phase probably took a significant amount of time. The way I see it is that time is going to pass anyway. So don't be disheartened by the fact that you're thinking, oh my God, it's going to take me 3 years to build this muscle. In 3 years from now, you can either be 3 years older wishing you'd built the muscle, you can be 3 years older with that muscle. Also, not to mention your metabolic health, your bone density, and your metabolism are going to thank you for staying consistent with your weight training. So don't ever let the thought of something taking a long time be the thing that puts you off. So yeah, you don't have to spend hours in the gym, but you do have to repeat these things every single week and expect it to take time. Hopefully that was helpful. Any questions or comments, as always, pop them below. And if you are serious about building muscle, make sure you get yourself onto my mailing list at the link below, because I have a free gift coming your way very soon to help.